Today we begin, it's the beginning of the end today. I think that I have enough stuff turned in from most people to grade the last couple of projects. I've had a little bit of tough time getting everything in. If you haven't turned everything in, get it in, because I'm going to start grading those last couple of projects, and I like to grade them all together. If I don't grade them together, it tends to look bad on your grade because I can't compare you with other people. But I will get that done, and we will have an updated grade for you again at the end of this week. And we have, what, 3 weeks left, 2 weeks in the final week. We are going to study, or not study, but learn, more at the point, three-dimensional design. Let's take a look here at what we got. I think that you should be able to see my computer at some point here. Maybe? Can you guys see my computer there on Stapleton? Excellent. So, to start off, we're going to take a look at Google SketchUp. So when you go to Google, you should be able to hit the, I think it's the apps button. Go here to apps and go to more apps. Let's see if we can find even more from Google. There we go. We're going to go down here until we hit, where is it? Apparently it's not here. So what we'll do is we'll go search on Google for Google SketchUp. It's spelled like ketchup, but with an S on the beginning. SketchUp.com, apparently they have their own website now. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and download SketchUp on Google, from Google, and it's free, so it's not going to cost you anything unless you want to buy the newest version. And then we want to learn how to use it. And there's lots of different ways to learn how to use Google SketchUp. Down here at the Knowledge Center, you can click on the Knowledge Center and you can go down to different articles and things to read about Google SketchUp. It's not a bad way to go. If we go to the Start here, for example, they'll take you to this page here, and the really helpful thing is actually all the video tutorials. And so click on video tutorials, and they're actually mostly on YouTube, so you can find them on YouTube as well. There's tons of them on YouTube. And we can learn how to use Google SketchUp from these videos. But the best thing to do is to watch the videos while you have SketchUp open on your computer, so you can watch something and then you can try it. You can watch something and you can try it. Now the objective here is not just to kind of play around with SketchUp. We actually want to do something with SketchUp. We want to do a three-dimensional design, and we have a great project already tailor-made for us. The City of North Platte wants to make a three-dimensional map of the city that they can take to conventions and state fairs and other things like this. And there are several buildings that they want designed and printed in 3 dimensions. And so we are going to do that. We're going to design some things in 3 dimensions, some particular buildings, and we're going to print them off, and maybe even if we have time, we'll paint them or whatever else we need to do. But let's go ahead and get started here. Let's watch some videos, and we'll get some ideas here on what Google SketchUp is and how it can be used. So, actually, before I start this, I want to do 2 other things. Google SketchUp is not the standard 3-dimensional design program for engineering. Probably the biggest one out there is probably a company called AutoCAD. You may have heard of it before. And AutoCAD comes from a company called Autodesk. And they have extremely high-powered software for doing three-dimensional design. It's not just a drawing program. Google SketchUp is pretty much just a drawing program, but AutoCAD is a modeling program, so you can design engines with parts that are made of different materials that have different properties, and then you can actually run the engine on your computer in AutoCAD. And you can do that in several other programs as well that are the equal of AutoCAD. These are much, much more advanced than Google SketchUp, but they're also much more expensive. For example, if you want to buy AutoCAD here, they don't even give you a price right off. I guess they do give you a price right off now. The regular price for the basic AutoCAD is $4,195, and this is an app. I mean, we're talking seriously expensive. If you're a student, you can buy it fairly cheap, actually. Let me see if I can find the student price. I'm not sure if they have it right here. I think the student price of AutoCAD is maybe $100. Oh, here we go. It's actually free. You get a free 3-year license if you're a student. So student software is free for AutoCAD for 3 years. So it's a great deal for students. Only available on Windows so far. AutoCAD. Actually, they do have AutoCAD for Mac, it looks like. That's something new. I didn't know that they had AutoCAD for Mac. Still $4,000. So. Anyway, other companies that are big three-dimensional design companies are SolidWorks. SolidWorks is a newer one than AutoCAD, but a very good program, and it's being used more and more, made by a company called Dassault Systems. Again, very similar kind of program where you can design something not just as a drawing, but you can design it as a working digital prototype that actually has all of the implements, all the design features of the materials and whatever is going to be in the design, and then you can run it as a three-dimensional model and see how it's going to function. And you can do tests with it and everything else. So AutoCAD, SolidWorks, and then the third one is a company called, I don't remember what the company's called, but the software is called Pro Engineer. And they've actually changed the name of it. It's now called something else, but it's a company called PTC that makes this particular software called PTC Creo is what they call it now. But they have 3 different things now. They have Windchill and Arbortex, but PTC Creo is their design software, and it does similar things to these other ones. And they're all very, very powerful software. Most of the software is not run on a normal computer. They run it on a system of computers, kind of like a supercomputer, and then you just attach to that computer with your laptop, whatever, to do your design work. Anyway, it's these are the biggies. These are the several $1,000s to pay for them. You have to pay $10,000 a year to maintain your license and get updates. It's expensive stuff. So for obvious reasons, we won't be using it. But SketchUp gives you a basic idea of how to do three-dimensional design because it uses a lot of the same ideas, the same tools, and you have to have the same kind of thought processes as you design in 3 dimensions. It's not as straightforward as you might think. You have to think. You have to begin to learn how to think in 3 dimensions and think in terms of parts and components and things like this. You have to think more real world when you're designing in 3 dimensions than you have to on paper. Because if you don't think that way, if you don't think completely and clearly in 3-dimensional design, your drawings are terrible, and your designs are terrible, so they just don't work. So let's go ahead and watch this for a little bit and see what we can learn.
Big challenge we face in photographs is that faces we want to make are often obscured by foreground objects. It's this face that I want to paint dimensions in my model. But the photograph I have to work with has a
That's not what I want to watch. I want to get to getting started. There we go. That's what I want to see.
To start with. The main difference is the default units of measurement SketchUp will use, such as meters or inches. The other difference is the starting view, which can be from the side or from the top. Either is fine. Choose a template and start SketchUp. Based on the template you've chosen for SketchUp, your default view will be from the top or from the side. Let's all start from the same view by going to the camera menu, Standard Views, and choose ISO.
Okay, before we go to that, I want to actually point out that you can see right away that there are axes. You have 3 axes, and they're all 90 degrees to each other. This is your 3 dimensions. These are your 3 dimensions, right? So you have a green axis, and it has a positive direction, and it has a negative direction, which is this dotted line. You have a red axis, positive and negative. You have a blue axis, positive and negative. It's important to keep oriented, to understand that those things are given directions for a reason, so that you know which way is up, you know which way is down, okay? And you really can decide which way is up and down, but by default, Google SketchUp assumes that blue is up and down, and that the green and red are the sideways dimensions. And so you want to keep those things straight, keep them in your mind, otherwise you can really screw up things with not getting dimensionality correct. You need to orient yourself and think of yourself as being inside of this space.
Your default view will be from the top or from the side. Let's all start from the same view by going to the camera menu, Standard Views, and choose ISO. Now begin by drawing a rectangle. Pick the rectangle tool, then click once to start a rectangle. Pull away, and click again to finish. A quick note about drawing in SketchUp. Get in the habit of click and releasing your mouse button to start and finish most actions. This will be true for almost all of the drawing tools. Unless we specifically ask you to click and drag your mouse button, always click and release to start and finish each tool in action.
Okay, so to be clear, you click it once to start the drawing, and you don't hold it down. You just click it once, and then you just make it how big you want it, and you click it again to end it. It's very different than your standard movement in a Windows environment. And the reason that one of the reasons they're doing that is because that is standard throughout drawing programs. That is standard in regular drawing programs, in engineering design programs, in all kinds of design programs. And really the reason is because you spend so much time using a mouse that they don't want you to be holding things down all the time. It's cumbersome, it's tiring, and it's confusing, okay? So you gotta get used to click to go, and then drag. You're not holding down to drag, but you're just dragging the mouse without holding it down, and then click to finish your problem, or finish your shape.
Now undo any rectangles by going to the Edit menu and choosing Undo. Draw another rectangle, but this time keep an eye on the lower right corner as you do. Click once to start the rectangle, pull away, and watch how the dimensions change as you adjust the rectangle size. Click again to finish the rectangle. You can be as precise with SketchUp as you'd like. Although it may not seem you are being accurate, everything you draw in SketchUp has a real-world scale. We'll learn more about this later. For now, let's move on to the next tool, Push.
I'm going to pause it because it did show down here in the video. It did show down here in the right-hand corner that it gave the dimensions of this box. So while you're stretching the box, it will tell you how big it is. And when you're done, it'll tell when you click that last click, it'll tell you what the dimensions are while that box is highlighted. And you can actually go down to this little box down here and you can type in the exact dimensions you want it to be. So if it shows up as 10 inches by 12.1 inches, you can actually type 10 by 12 exactly, and it'll change the box as you go. So we'll learn more about that later. But you can get very precise in SketchUp.
Select this tool and click on the rectangle we just drew, Pool tool. Precise with SketchUp as you'd like. Although it may not seem you are being accurate, everything you draw in SketchUp has a real-world scale. We'll learn more about this later. For now, let's move on to the next tool, the Push Pull tool. Select this tool and click on the rectangle we just drew. Pull up, and we've created a box. Click to finish. The Push Pull tool will literally push or pull on any flat surface. Try it on our simple box. Click on this side to pull it out and click to finish. Click on this side to push it in and click to finish. Now let's combine more rectangles with the Push Pull tool. Select the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle on our existing box. Watch how SketchUp will give you reference points to help as you draw. For example, to draw from this corner, SketchUp snaps to this point and shows you a green endpoint. Click here to start, pull away, and finish the rectangle. Now use Push-Pull to push this new surface inward. The drawing tools all work based on the surface you are drawing on. For example, use the Circle tool to draw a circle on one of your surfaces. Simply click to start, pull out the radius, and click again to finish. Now draw another circle on a different surface to see how the orientation aligns to whatever you are drawing on. Use Push-Pull to create some cylinders. Select the rectangle tool again and start from this upper edge. SketchUp shows a red dot indicating you are on the edge. Click to start and draw down to a lower edge, also showing a red dot. Use Push-Pull to push this surface inward. All reference points are called inference points in SketchUp, and they will be very helpful in making you both accurate and fast. Here are the basic inference points: endpoints, on-edge points, and midpoints for the middle of any edge. There are others, but these are the most common. You can see how simple it is to create 3D objects in SketchUp. Let's take a moment to explore navigation in SketchUp. Start with the Orbit tool. Click and drag to orbit your view right to left and up and down. For practice, try orbiting fully around your model. Next is the Pan tool. This moves your view side to side without orbiting. Click and drag to pan your view of the model around the screen. The final navigation tool is Zoom. Click and drag to zoom closer to and away from your model. Now try practicing using orbit, pan, and zoom together. Zoom in, orbit, pan, orbit, zoom, and so forth. Navigating is essential in SketchUp, but going back and forth to pick the icons seems slow and cumbersome, which is why we've built all the navigation tools into a 3-button scroll wheel mouse. Simply roll the mouse wheel forward and back to zoom in and out. Press the wheel down to orbit. Press the wheel down and hold Shift key on your keyboard to pan. Practice navigating again using the scroll wheel for a much faster experience. Another advantage to using the scroll wheel is better control over zooming. Try this. Hover your cursor over this corner of your model and roll the wheel forward. See how it zooms towards that corner? Using the scroll wheel will zoom toward and away from any area where your cursor is, making navigation even easier. Let's review what we've learned so far by creating a very simple house object. Begin by zooming back out so we can see our entire model, then use the Select tool. Click and drag a selection box around the entire model and press Delete on your keyboard. Draw a new rectangle and use the Push-Pull tool to pull this rectangle into a box. Orbit and pan to get a better view of the top. Now let's split this top surface with the Line tool. Before drawing the line, hover over the top edge and find the midpoint inference. Click on the midpoint to start drawing, move across the surface and find the midpoint on the opposite edge and click to finish the line. We'll pull this new edge up to create a roof. Choose the Select tool and click on the edge to select it. With the edge highlighted, use the Move tool to create a ridge. Click on the edge to begin moving it, move it upward, and click again to finish. A quick orbit shows that I wasn't very careful in moving my roof line, and the result is uneven. Let's undo that move and see how SketchUp can help us to be more accurate. Make sure the edge is selected, then using the Move tool, click once on the edge to start moving it. While moving it around, notice that the edge snaps to a blue dotted line. This is an indication that you are moving the edge straight up, which will result in an even roof. Click to finish. In SketchUp, the red, green...
So that's one way that Google SketchUp helps you to stay oriented in your space. So that you notice that the dotted line that was here was turning blue every once in a while. And they show that there, it turned blue while she was moving it. Yeah, let's see if we can actually find that. There it goes. So it turned blue when she was pulling it straight up in the blue direction. And that will happen to all of your things in Google SketchUp. It will actually show you a dotted line or the line you're drawing in the color of the direction you're going if you're going in a specific direction. If you're going between two directions, it doesn't tell you that. So, but there's lots of little things like that. If you pay attention, you can take advantage of them. It'll tell you when you've got a perfect square using the rectangle tool, for example, and so on and so forth. You just got to pay attention. And one of the best tools is this orbit tool, where you click down here on this orbit tool and you rotate around and you look at it from different perspectives to see if you're drawing what you think you're drawing, right? Because from one perspective it may look right, from another perspective you may discover you're completely off kilter. So
even roof. Click to finish. In SketchUp, the red, green, and blue axes will help you to draw and move correctly in 3D space. Let's try it by creating a chimney on the roof. Navigate for a better view of the roof surface. Now use the Line tool and click once on an upper part of the roof to start drawing a line. As you move the line around, watch how it will snap to a red direction, a green direction, and a blue direction. Try drawing a line in each direction, orbiting to see the orientation. The blue direction is vertical, straight up and down, and the red and green are horizontal. To draw a chimney, we could approach it in many ways, but we'll use this method. We'll draw the side profile shape, then use the push-pull to create the full chimney. Drawing with the axis directions will help us create the correct profile in 3D space. Use the Eraser tool and click on any edges you drew to erase them. With the Line tool, click once on the roof edge. Make sure you see the red on-edge inference point, where you could also start from the midpoint and draw a line straight up in the blue direction. Click to finish your line and press the Escape key to cancel a continuous line. Now choose another point on the edge and start drawing a line from that point up in the blue direction, and watch as you draw upward that SketchUp will give you an inference when you are lined up with the previous line you drew. Draw your second line to this point. Now draw an edge connecting the two lines to complete a surface. With the surface drawn, use push-pull to extend the chimney across the roof to a point you are happy with. Use push-pull again to complete the chimney. By pulling across the roof surface, extra edges have been created, but these are easily erased. Any lines drawn across coplanar surfaces can be erased to form one larger surface. We call this healing the surface. Use the eraser and erase the two extra edges. At this point, you know some of the basics of SketchUp, so practice what you've learned by adding to our simple house. Draw a rectangle and split it in half. Then use push-pull to create some steps. Draw a few more rectangles to create a door and windows. Try a few things on your own. You can see how easy it is to create simple models in SketchUp with only a few tools. When you are ready to learn more, proceed to our next video where we will create a more detailed house with real dimensions and introduce you to the offset and follow me tools.
Alright, so anybody have any questions about that first video? All right, well, we're gonna spend some time watching at least one more, maybe two more. But before I do, I want to give you an assignment. Your assignment for tonight is to draw a representation or a model of your own home. Okay? And I want it to be to scale so that it is actually the size of your home, which means you're going to have to go into Google SketchUp and choose a format that's probably going to give you feet and inches, and you're going to have to measure your home, right? If you are living in the dorms and don't know the measurements of your home, go ahead and call your parents or somebody and get the home measured. If you can't do that, then borrow a tape measure and go out and measure a home, a house near where you're living, wherever you're living. So depending on what your status is, go ahead and do that. Since most of my students here are high school students, not all of them, but most of them, you're probably living at home, you don't have to worry about it. But I want you to build a model of your home. It doesn't have to be colored any particular way, and you don't have to have all the details on it. But I want the basic stuff like the shape of the home, the stairs in the home, the size of the home, the windows, the doors, those kinds of basics. I definitely want those on your model. And I want that to be done by Wednesday, and you can save it in SketchUp and you can email it. You can email it to me and I can open it here. So that's your first assignment, is to make a model of your home to scale in Google SketchUp, and I want that at the beginning of class on Wednesday. We will have enough information. You'll have enough information from this class to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and yes. Yep. Okay, are those school computers? Well, that's probably why you'll probably have to talk to your computer guy there at the school, and he'll have to download it for you, most likely. Probably your school won't allow you to download, so you'll probably have to get his permission, and he'll have to type in a password or something. So go talk to him and get that done today so that you can work on that, or use a computer at home to do it, one way or the other. Up to you. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's go ahead and watch another video about Google SketchUp. We'll watch one or two more here today, and then we'll be done for today.
Please be sure you've watched the first Getting Started video. We'll build on the concepts learned there. In this video, we'll create a more detailed house, learning about accuracy, drawing tips, and using offset in the Follow Me tool. To start this model, let's draw a basic rectangle. As we learned before, everything you draw in SketchUp has real dimensions. We need to control what the dimensions are. In SketchUp, to enter dimensions, you start an operation, then simply type in the desired dimensions. Try this. Undo your rectangle if needed, then start drawing a new rectangle and type 10 apostrophe, comma, 20 apostrophe, and press the Enter key. This creates a rectangle 10 feet by 20 feet. Now start a line from this corner and draw in the red direction. Type 2M and press Enter. This creates a line that is 2 meters long. Working accurately in SketchUp is simple. You just start drawing and then type in the dimensions as needed. Rectangle dimensions are separated by a comma. Here are a few examples of some dimensions you might enter. Now that you are familiar with entering dimensions, erase any existing geometry and draw a new rectangle that is 12 feet by 30 feet. Now starting from this corner, draw another rectangle adjacent to the first that is 20 feet by 10 feet. We can combine these two surfaces by erasing the separating edge. There, now this is one surface that we can push-pull. Start pulling it up and enter 10 feet. To create the roof, we'll use the line tool and draw all the edges we need before pulling the bridge up. Using the line tool, find the midpoint and start drawing back in the green direction. This will be our first ridge, and we need it to connect exactly with the second ridge. To do this, simply hover, but don't click, on the midpoint here, telling SketchUp we are interested in this inference point. Once you see the tool tip telling you it's the midpoint, follow the original.
So if you didn't catch that, she clicked here, and then without touching the buttons again, she's just going to pull her mouse over to here and find the midpoint, because Google SketchUp found the midpoint for her just by hovering over this. She's not touching the mouse in any way except just dragging the mouse around. She's not, holding any buttons down or anything. She clicked once here to start the line and then kind of hovered over this midpoint here. And that essentially what that tells SketchUp is that I'm interested in the midpoint. It finds the midpoint for you, and then it draws this dotted line from the midpoint so that you can decide where you want to end your line. So her line is going to go from here to here and end where this midpoint is lined up in this other dimension. It's a very nice tool that almost all 3D drawing programs have.
Green direction, and SketchUp will infer to the new midpoint, telling you exactly how far to draw the first edge. Make sure you see both inferences and click to finish the first ridge. Then draw the second ridge to this midpoint. Now that we have both ridges in place, simply draw the lines where the roof will fold when we move the ridge lines. Use the select arrow and click on one of the ridges, then hold the shift key and watch the icon. There is now a plus minus that indicates you can add to or subtract from your current selection. This allows you to select other entities and deselect them as well while holding shift. Add the other ridgeline to your selection, making sure only these two edges are selected. Now you can use the move tool to pull up the roof. When you're happy with your roof, use the select tool and click away from your model to deselect the ridgelines. Let's explore a new tool, the offset tool. If you don't see...
Now please realize that when you're engineering, and I know that we have at least, I think that we have at least one person interested in construction engineering that I've talked to, you don't just build a roof to when you're happy with it, right? For example, when you're doing your house, there is a height of your roof from this point to the peak, right? And that's something that is a definitely measured thing. It's not something that's just, oh, it looks nice. And when you're doing construction engineering, there are reasons for having more of a pitch to your roof or less of a pitch to your roof. And those reasons are based on engineering decisions, not just on, it looked good enough, right? So in a drawing, when you're just drawing a house, that's fine. But when you're doing engineering, there has to be a reason for the height of this roof, not just because.
The large tool set, go to the View menu, Tool Palettes, Large Tool Set. This opens the complete tool set in SketchUp. To see how the offset tool works, click on the side of our house and pull inwards or away. All the edges of the surface are offset. Click to finish. You can try this on different surfaces to see the results, or if you wanted to focus on one surface, you could use the Select tool to pick a single surface, then the Offset tool will only work on that surface. Time to get back to our house. So undo any previous offsets and navigate so we can see under the house. Let's offset the base of the house inwards. Select the bottom surface to focus the Offset tool, then offset the base inwards by 6 inches. Push this new surface upwards to create a roof overhang, but don't push it all the way. Leave a few inches for us to work with later. Offset can help us add some quick detail to other elements as well. Use the rectangle tool to create a door and window. Be sure to start the door from the bottom edge. The window is simple, offset it once or twice, and use push-pull to make the window frame. The door is a little more tricky, however. Offsetting the door creates some extra geometry that we don't need. It's easy to erase these extra edges, but there is another way to use offset that will solve this problem for us. Undo back to our simple door. Use the Select tool to pick one door edge, then holding the Shift key, add the other 2 edges. With these edges selected, the Offset tool will focus and only work on those edges, so we don't have any problematic edges below our house and can correctly create the door frame. Pull the door frame out so we can use it in our next example. Now that you understand the offset tool, let's move on to the Follow Me tool. Zoom into the lower corner of the door frame we just created and draw a line between these two edges. We could use push-pull on this new surface, but what if we wanted this to be trim that turns this corner? That is what the Follow Me tool will do. Hit the Escape key to cancel your push-pull or undo it, then select the Follow Me tool and click once on our trim surface. Pull along this lower edge and it looks similar to push-pull until you meet the corner and continue in a different direction. You can pull upwards or around the corner and follow any joining edges, then click to finish. The key to Follow Me is having a continuous edge to follow. Let's undo and navigate so we have a full view of the base of our house. Now use Follow Me to start following this trim all the way around the house till it meets up with the other side of the door. Just carefully follow along the edges and click to finish when you reach the inside corner of the door. Sometimes it's tricky to end the Follow Me tool at the right point, but a more sure way to use the tool is to pre-pick the path we want to choose. Undo the Follow Me action we just finished, and this time use the Select tool to choose our path. Hold the Shift key down like before, and select all the edges that go around the house, but only the edges, and make sure they are all connected or the tool won't work. With our path selected, now choose the Follow Me tool. It looks like we lost our selection, but don't worry, just click on the trim surface to pull it around the path. If your example doesn't work, try again, and make sure you pick all the edges and have nothing else selected. We are only scratching the surface of what can be done with the Follow Me and other tools, so please look into more of our videos and learning resources to explore these tools to their full extent. To finish our house example, let's turn our attention back to the roof and some drawing aids in SketchUp. Use the Line tool and start drawing a line from this edge. Now hover over the roof edge for a few moments, and as you continue to draw, you'll see a new inference that is purple in color and parallel to the edge we just hovered over. We can easily find out how far to draw this parallel edge by hovering over the ridge point to focus attention there. Then as we come back to drawing our original line, SketchUp will tell us where these points meet up. Click to finish that edge, then continue drawing and hover over the far roof line to tell SketchUp we are now interested in that edge. SketchUp will now show us the parallel inference to that edge, and we can follow it down to meet up with the lower on edge inference point. At this point, you can keep practicing on your own. In the next video in this series, we will create an interior room.
Okay, so these two videos I think give you enough to do this, but you're going to need to watch them again. You can watch more than these as well. And if you have a particular question about SketchUp, type it into Google, type it into YouTube, and it will give you resources for how to use different tools, how to do different things in SketchUp. Try not to get ahead of yourself. Try not to get too fancy. Try to use the tools that you've seen so far in the way that you've seen them used. There are hundreds of thousands of different ways to use these tools. And in fact, there are hundreds of tools to use in SketchUp. You can add tools onto SketchUp. People are adding them all the time. But what I want you to do is I want you to use the basics in very basic ways. Because just like with anything else, if you learn the basics and learn how to use them properly in very specific ways, you'll do much better as you learn more and more, right? You do not need to have the SketchUp Pro, which is the one that they're using. In fact, I think this is an old version. I don't think they're using the newest version anyway. But you certainly don't need SketchUp Pro. The other thing that I want to point out to you is that you should open up SketchUp, watch the video, and try it out. Not just doing exactly what they're doing, but maybe even working on your homework assignment. So instead of starting off by building a base of a house that's the dimensions they say, go measure the dimensions of your house and start out with those dimensions and start your house right away and then go on to the next part of the video. Don't just jump into Google SketchUp and assume you'll figure it out, because it looks pretty easy, but there's a lot of ways to mess up. There's a lot of things to get wrong, a lot of things that are easily misunderstood or easily misused in SketchUp. So instead of discovering those all for yourself and causing yourself all kinds of headache, use the videos to work through those problems beforehand. Use the videos to do it right the first time, so you don't have to figure out the problems later. As far as anything else goes, I think I'm done here. I just want to make sure that you have turned in everything for these past couple of projects, hydraulic projects in particular, so that we can get all those graded and get the grades up to date. And then we'll be doing tutorials on SketchUp for today, and probably at least through Wednesday we'll do some more tutorials, and then we'll get you started on your final design project and hopefully get those printed. And then you will have a final presentation to make. Any questions, comments, concerns? We good to go? All right, if you have any struggles getting SketchUp loaded or anything, make sure that you talk to your computer people or talk to me or somebody. Let's get going on this. Have a good day.